We've got this. Welcome everybody to our very first Community Council Town Hall. I'm Jen Walling, the Executive Director of the Illinois Environmental Council, and I am going to be doing very little work tonight other than listening to you as hard as I can because our amazing communications associate, Paloma Campillo, who has been in touch with a lot of you, is going to be in charge of facilitating this whole thing, and she recruited such awesome speakers. I'm so excited. But I wanted to give some background of why we're together tonight and why this is so important. Many of you who have known IEC's work, you've seen we did a number of town halls this summer on different issue areas. And this is where we're taking the opportunity to listen to different groups and what they think should be priorities to better develop our agenda. And we mostly focus at the state level. We've started to do some city council work. Eventually we want to have some resources to be able to help with lobbying anywhere that you're dealing with issues where you need to be building power and working with your city council, because it all builds up. And so we're really excited to hear from you on those. But I think that, our board would like to see us really having more community organizations involved with IEC and with our decision making. We are a membership organization. We have 100 different affiliates that are members of IEC. You can see a lot of them on our website. Many of you tonight are members of IEC. And this is sort of a soft launch into next year. We're going to be developing new member criteria for organizations that don't have a budget, that are volunteer-based. They are going to be able to join IEC for a much lower amount to be part of what we're going to kick off as a community council. But we're also going to come to you, we're doing this listening session now. In December, at some point, we're going to get another invite from us where we are going to debut to you priorities that the different experts from affiliate members have put together and see what you think of them so that we can move those forward in 2021. Of course, it's a really challenging year. A lot of the things that we wanted to propose this year got put on the back burner. But that doesn't mean we've stopped working. We've definitely pivoted to a lot of new and different issues, working a lot on things that might affect low-income people during this pandemic, and preparing us for when we are at a situation where we can do more advocacy. So not that we've ever stopped doing advocacy, it's never ending. But we're really excited to have all of you here tonight and be part of this process. And when we get to the questions after the presentation, I'll be around too, and I'm happy to take any questions that may be about any of the work that IEC is doing. I know so many of you groups that have been involved with the Clean Energy Jobs Act, and I'm really excited about the forward momentum that's just happened on that. I'm really hopeful. And so thank you. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate all the work that everyone all over the state is doing for the environment. I know it's thankless and many of you don't get the appreciation you need. So thank you for everything you're doing. It's amazing. And I cannot wait to hear from this lineup. So I'm going to pass it to Paloma, who's been with us for nearly a year. And she's full-time with us as our communications associate. And she's put together just some excellent meetings, and I'm looking forward to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and go on mute. I'll still be here, but you'll hear from.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so as Jen said, my name is Paloma, and I've been with IEC for a little while, and I am going to pretty much just get us kicked off. I am gonna just first show us who is gonna be speaking, and I'm not gonna speak too much on it because we have a pretty long list of really awesome speakers that are going to be going. So just. Lord, I'm sorry. Wrong button. Okay. So yeah, as you guys can all see, we have a really awesome lineup of speakers from all across Illinois, representing a number of different organizations and coming from all across the spectrum. So to kick things off, we're going to go to our first speaker, who is Sarah J. Coulter with the Calumet COLLABORATIVE. And I am going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay, so Sarah, do you want to do your presentation now?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just share my screen, and thank you so much, Jen and Paloma, for having me. I am Sarah Coulter. I am the executive director of a relatively new organization called the Calumet Collaborative. And the Calumet Collaborative is working in the Calumet region to transform the region that has been overlooked and underappreciated for many, many years through sustainable development. So really trying to be a catalyst in the region through collective action. So what that means to us, or a little bit more about us, is that we're relatively new in that we got our 501c3 designation in the December of 2017 and seated our first board in 2017. So we're relatively new that way. But I think there's been a number of collaborative efforts and a number of partnerships in the Calumet region. But the map I'm showing you here is a rough idea of what I mean by when I say the Calumet region. So it's the south side of Chicago, South Cook County, and then the 3 counties of Northwest Indiana. That little kind of buffer line that you see really has the more densely populated areas, the more active Calumet region compared to more agricultural areas. And so what we mean by collective action and through collaboration is how do we bring everyone together to do sustainable development? So looking at the 3 areas of sustainability that most people know, but then adding in a 4th of culture. And by doing that, we bring in, as far as how do we do this collaboratively, we bring in partners from Indiana, we bring in partners from Illinois, and we bring in partners that cross the state line. So they might be federal agencies, they might be nonprofit organizations that do work in each side or each state. And then we also bring in partners that work in the different sectors of economy, community, and environment. And so what is it that we do? So the organization is kind of a different type of organization than you typically see. I am the founding executive director, and right now I have 2 staff. So we are what's considered a backbone organization. And our role is to convene work groups, to build capacity within an organization or provide additional staff capacity. We manage projects, we facilitate meetings or conversations. We, of course, advocate for the Calumet region. And then we communicate and celebrate the successes of our own as our own collaborative, but then as a region as well. So as that backbone organization, we bring all these partners together to do work related to our kind of 4 buckets of economic opportunity, livable communities, culture and heritage, and environment. And then within each of those buckets, we have longer term initiatives. If you're familiar with the Calumet region, it's an area of the lower Lake Michigan Basin, or the Calumet watershed, that was home to some of the biggest industrial industries, but also the location of a lot of initial environmental advocacy, so that some of the legacy pollution and some of the old practices, even prior to the EPA being formed, can be changed, modified, cleaned, retrofitted into a new sustainable future. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is one of our initiatives, which is brownfield redevelopment. I could tell you lots about our wayfinding projects, our Calumet National Heritage Area projects, and of course our conservation projects, but I think the brownfield redevelopment, one of the projects we're doing in that particular initiative would be of great interest to the listeners. So the project is the Brownfield Mapping Tool. And so what we did when we formed, we brought together all these stakeholders and said, what do we want to do, or what can we do about brownfields? So if you're not familiar with the term brownfields, brownfields are contaminated or perceived contaminated sites. And what we wanted to do is really figure out, how do we put all of these vacant sites, all of these empty sites, all of these blighted sites back into productive reuse? And so the group decided we really needed to have a baseline of like, what are we working with? You know, what are we looking at when we're talking about brownfields? There's a lot of assumptions made about the Calumet region as far as it's all contaminated, but that of course is not true. So how do we kind of get to the bottom of it? So we're gonna, through the project, we established a clean baseline map. We're gonna add additional amounts of data to it, and then we're going to put forth methodologies to see if there's any type of relationships at the parcel and regional level. And really the map was developed to provide long-term land use and planning strategies, and then kind of a launching point to what we should work on as a working group, and then what might be the best future use of sites. So what you'll see in the upcoming slides are sites that have contamination or have perceived contamination, and then the base layers to add into decision making. So we have a number of different layers added to the maps of the actual sites. We also have a data dictionary, so if there's any questions as far as terminology, so we've provided all of these different additional tools, and really our key audience is the work group, any kind of future development partners going forward. So as I said, it's over 2 years of collaborative work through the work group, through small groups, through one-on-one interviews and meetings, and a lot of training and data collection. But I think the biggest and most challenging part was try to unify the data across state lines. So if we look at zoning and land use, Indiana has a different method than Illinois, and sometimes Chicago has a different method than the rest of Illinois. So really challenging to line up the data. So the EPA's definition of a brownfield is right there. It's a property where the expansion or redevelopment or reuse of which may be complicated by the presence or potential presence of a hazardous substance, pollutant, or contaminated. So there's 2 stages of this project, and we're really just at the first stage right now. And so what we've identified on the map, on the mapping tool, is are the US EPA sites.
Sarah, just a warning, that is at 5 minutes. Okay. So if you wanna, sorry.
Okay, so anyway, so IEPA, US EPA, and a bunch of other sites, but I'll just go through quickly, and this is kind of what we're looking at. So these are just the sites. Here's the sites with the different land use. Here's the sites with 100-year and 500-year floodplain, and then wetlands and USGS protected areas. We are in the works of updating the site, updating the tool to include all of the county parks, state parks, national parks, etc. And then different economic development layers of opportunity zones, hub zones, and new market tax credits, as well as TIF districts. And then probably most importantly, the social vulnerability index that's established by HUD. And so at the end, you can go look at this tool and kind of play around with it yourself by going to our website. And if you go to projects, you can see the drop down for brownfield redevelopment. And when you get to the brownfield working group page, you'll notice a Calumet reinvestment mapping tool link. And then you'll have a short user agreement to fill out to show that you're using it with good intentions. And then you'll get a link to the site itself. And if you have any questions or run into any snafus, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help. Sorry for going over.
Good, thanks, Sarah. And if you wanna throw in like your contact info and some of those links from your slide all in the chat so folks can check that out, that would be fantastic.
Sure will, thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Okay, and next we have Obai from Equiticity, who is going to be talking about slow roll Chicago and some environmental justice issues. So Obai, if you wanna share your screen, that would be fantastic.
All right, you all see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, here we go. We're about to light a fire and burn it all down. When a fire starts to burn, the power of mobility as a vehicle for community transformation. My name is Obai Olatunji Obai Reed. I co-founded Slow Roll Chicago. I am the president and CEO of Equiticity, and I am the co-chair of the Transportation Equity Network. We're gonna go for a ride to a new city We call this city Equiticity. I want to start off talking a little bit about our movement. It started when, after co-founding Slow Road Chicago and focusing on bicycle equity, I became more interested in all modes of travel, not limited to bikes. I also became interested in racial equity across all sectors, across all geographies, and across all policy areas. The problem statement that Equiticity seeks to address is that our communities have experienced sustained disinvestment. Our communities have experienced tremendous structural, systemic, and institutional racism. And as a result, we have socioeconomic inequities in our neighborhoods. Our purpose as an organization is to use racial equity to operationalize a commitment to racial equity in cities here in Chicago and across the country. Our vision is a mid to large size US city where racial equity is fully integrated and operationalized in that city. Our target audience is Black and brown people at the neighborhood level and other relevant influencers and stakeholders in the cities where we operate. We use 3 frameworks that make up the foundation of who we are, what we do, and why we do it. The first one is the Equiticity Racial Equity Statement of Principle. That framework is available on our website. It's in draft version right now. We're finalizing that framework, and we anticipate that'll be available in the next few months. The other one is the Untokening 1.0 Principles of Mobility Justice. That organization is at the forefront of framing up what mobility justice is and doing some great work to help people understand how to operationalize a commitment to mobility justice. And then the final framework we use is the Principles of Environmental Justice. The one that we're talking about is the one that was created by the delegates to the first National People of Color Environmental Leadership Summit held in October of 1991. Our work consists of research, advocacy, training, community bicycle rides, and walking tours. We just completed our Mobility Justice in Chicago research funded by the Chicago Community Trust. There's 4 research reports available on our website right now. We do advocacy work centering around operationalizing a commitment to racial equity here in the city. We do training. We help people better understand racial equity and how to operationalize it within their departments, agencies, or organizations. We organize community bicycle rides and walking tours as a way to socialize people around the exercising our human right to mobility and creating a culture around mobility in our neighborhoods. Our process is mobilization, education, activation, organization, and transformation. We use our rides and our walking tours as a way to mobilize people as they come into our world, into our network. We want to educate them on what mobility justice is, what racial equity is, and then we want to activate those people. We want to call for them to do something on behalf of the movement. We want to organize those people to even do greater levels of work, and we anticipate that that'll lead us to the transformation we seek. The benefits of mobility: improve health, create jobs, reduce violence, and make neighborhoods more livable. This is not conjecture. There's solid research that shows when mobility increases at the neighborhood level, we'll address some of the most pressing concerns we have in our communities. So as I close it out, I want to just say a quote from one of my favorite people, Marlo Stanfield from HBO's The Wire. "You want it to be one way, but it's the other way." What happens when we turn on the power and equity moves like electricity through our homes, our streets, neighborhoods, and city? Equiticity, power plus equity, is greater than racism, oppression, and bias. So turn on the power and let the equity flow. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can reach me on my contact information here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abai. And once again, if you could also throw all that stuff, all your contact information and links into the chat so folks can have those, that would be great. Okay. And our next presenter from Environmental Defenders of McHenry County, we have Cynthia Canner.
Thank you. Wow, I almost don't want to go after that. That was so succinct and powerful and well done. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show the beginning of a trailer. I'm Executive Director of the Environmental Defenders, and we are celebrating 50 years of preserving, protecting, and educating. And so we have a 15-minute trailer, which I'm not going to show, of course, but I wanted to show the beginning of it. And then I will just talk very briefly. I'm going to time myself because this is tough. 5 minutes goes fast, just like 500 words goes fast.
Happy 50th anniversary to the Environmental Defenders of McHenry County.
When people look at, environmental advocacy or any kind of environment, they think it's just going to be straight. We want to protect the animals and the plants, and that is part of it, yes, but there is that human aspect as well. I think the defenders, that's one of the human capital aspect is very large. We want to help the environment, we want to help the future, but there's also that connection amongst each other.
I think our understanding of the complexities of the ecosystem services that support us, we're still only really beginning to understand. And so the need of groups who try to raise these issues, I think, is greater than before.
So I'm sorry to stop it there.
Before we moved here in 1970.
And now I have to stop it because I can still hear it. So the Environmental Defenders is 50 years old. And if you're not familiar with what we do, we preserve and protect the environment. And we do this in a lot of different ways. We tackle various issues from water protection to land protection, transportation issues. I loved the comments about mobility. That's huge out here too. And we also look at waste reduction is a big part of what we tackle, and recycling, which is something that we're very known for. We started the recycling movement here in McHenry County, and I think with a short period of time, one of the biggest things I want to say is that we do what we do to connect with each other and to make a difference and to make lasting change. And we preserve, we protect, we educate. Those are our pillars, and I wear that on my sleeve. And we do that because everything needs to be protected, not just humans, but all other species that rely on us to make smart decisions. We also need to look at who we're reaching out to and who's reaching in to us. So one of the biggest things that we're looking at now is reaching out to our Latino community in McHenry County, which isn't necessarily a community that seeks us out. And so we're not very diverse if you look at our membership, our staff, our board. So we're being very conscious about wanting to include everybody in our county in what we do, because if we don't do all of this together and learn from each other, then we're not going to go very far for very long. So we're being very intentional about that, and we're collaborating with 3 other major conservation groups in McHenry County to do that. And so we've got special programming, we've received funding, and it's very exciting because collaborating and connecting is one of the most important things I think that we can do. And I'm very excited and motivated by the Illinois Environmental Council and our association, both personally as a member, sorry, motorcycle, and as our organization is a member. And we share with our members action alerts and ways that they can voice their opinion about policies that affect our environment. And it's just been an incredible way, even during these difficult times, to stay connected and continue working on the issues that are important to us. A couple of really exciting developments recently we are the new fiscal agents and home to the McHenry County Schools Environmental Education Program. They moved into our building. I just wrote a grant to support that, so I hope that comes through. So we're doing more and more to reach into our schools. We have an education action team that will partner with MCSEEP on that. We also just submitted an application to Illinois Solar for All to build a community solar farm for low middle income communities on property that we own in Woodstock. We were successful in having the county incorporate ordinance into any community solar farm in our county has to be planted with native plants for pollinators. So from plants to people to our watershed, we're starting a microplastic study here in McHenry County. We're everywhere. The environment is big and we rely on volunteers. We're also very small staff. And we rely on the passion of volunteers to join our teams and help make a difference. And in closing, I would like to announce, in case people don't know it or didn't see it, but we have a job opening. It's a part-time job for a communications and membership specialist. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if you're interested in that application, it's on our website.
Why am I just...
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Okay, and for our next presenter, we have a team here. We have Beth Drucker and Kim Stone from Go Green, Illinois. Oh, Beth, you're on mute.
Unmute myself. Okay, sorry, I'm Beth Drucker and I'm the co-facilitator of Go Green Illinois with Kim Stone. We're really pleased to have the opportunity to share our experience working with a coalition of community groups doing very local grassroots environmental advocacy. We founded Go Green Illinois 7 years ago to encourage and support the establishment of citizens environmental groups in suburban Chicagoland. There are currently more than 25 communities and groups actively participating from the north and northwest suburbs, which represents almost 10% of Chicago's 298 suburbs. Go Green Illinois meets 6 times a year and communicates regularly between meetings. We provide a forum to share best practices among the groups and to collaborate on addressing environmental challenges that cross municipal boundaries. Before the pandemic, we met every other month in person at the Chicago Botanic Gardens. We're now meeting and have continued to experience a high level of participation from our members. We're an all-volunteer group with no budget, no staff, and almost no overhead. There are no membership dues to participate. Our speakers are generally from government agencies and nonprofit education and advocacy groups. We provide our speakers with an engaged audience from many different suburbs, and they've all generously presented to our group free of charge. We're thankful that the Botanic Gardens has provided us meeting space at no cost for more than 6 years. Kim and I planned these informational meetings based on the feedback from our member groups. Presentation topics have included sustainable transportation, electrical aggregation, renewable energy and community solar, natural landscaping and native plants, state and local politics, recycling and waste reduction, stormwater management, engaging faith communities, schools and park districts, working with environmental commissions, reducing food waste and food scrap composting, and more. An important part of each meeting is community sharing. Each of our member groups talks about their challenges and successes and describes campaigns and activities that can easily be replicated by other groups. We also encourage groups to partner with other communities to increase their outreach and effectiveness. As a result, groups have collaborated on activities such as municipal aggregation, ravine restoration, and community solar. Programs that were successful in one community can be launched in others. For example, Go Green Wilmette hosts a sustainable yard tour that's been replicated in several other member communities. Go Green groups from Winnetka, Wilmette, and Northfield collaborated to organize a book club open to the public called Go Green Reads. Another member launched a group called Go Green Illinois Schools to help collaborate within school volunteers. Go Green Highland Park and Go Green Wilmette are collaborating to survey landscapers about what sustainable practices they offer. Many communities are sharing information about gas-powered leaf blower issues. After learning about the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus's Greenest Region Compact at one of our meetings, many of our member groups signed on to it and are now using it as a sustainability planning guide in their communities. And many of our members contribute to or attend Going Green Matters, the premier environmental fair hosted by Go Green Wilmette each year. Now Kim Stone will tell you more about how we operate and collaborate.
Thanks, Beth. Hi. So Go Green Illinois is a loose affiliation. We don't dictate what each group focuses on or how they operate. The role of Go Green Illinois is to support community-based environmental groups at whatever level and whatever stage they're at. So there's a big range of groups that participate. Some are well-established 501c3s, some are newly formed groups, and others are just individuals who are hoping to start a group. The importance of working on a local level is that community groups are able to engage people who may not be active in environmental issues or the environmental movement, and we give them opportunities to get involved on issues that impact their communities and themselves. The work of these groups complements the work of state, regional, and national groups. Local legislation often serves as a model for what we can do at the state level. Our groups have coordinated local ordinances on coal tar sealant bans, gas-powered leaf blower restrictions, and tree ordinances. Local environmental groups can put pressure on or support local elected officials taking action on sustainability by demonstrating environmental impact, interest among their constituents. Also, Beth and I bring different perspectives to Go Green Illinois. Beth founded Go Green Wilmette, so she has experience forming and leading a local environmental group. I am a local elected official here in Highland Park, and I can provide a realistic assessment of what it takes to get things done in local government. Our unique combination of skills has really helped us to better and more strategically guide our members so that their programs are impactful. To help groups to collaborate and communicate between meetings, we maintain a website that provides contact information for all member groups. I've put the website into the chat, and we frequently update the resources and information there and also allow our members to post. Over the years, we've had a chance to see firsthand the positive impact of communication and collaboration between community groups. We've watched individuals step up and start Go Green groups after being inspired at our meetings by the efforts of others in nearby towns. Often all they need is the guidance and encouragement of other member groups in order to succeed. We see the potential for regional affiliations of groups in other parts of Chicago and the state, and we'd be happy to talk with people interested in starting something similar in other parts of Chicagoland or Illinois. Thanks for the opportunity to share our work.
Thanks so much, Kim and Beth. That was great. Okay, our next speaker is Virginia Wolf-Beal, who's going to be talking to us from Sierra Club Piazza Palisades.
Okay, Paloma, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to have the opportunity tonight, and gosh, you got a lot of people on the Zoom meeting. So anyway, first of all, really hard to pronounce my name, number one. It's Virginia Wolf-Beal, and number two, Piazza Palisades Group. So yeah, like two tongue twisters right off the bat. So anyway, thanks so much for having me. Like Paloma said, I'm with the Piazza Palisades Group of the Sierra Club here in Alton, Illinois, and we're in the Metro East area of the state. So that's the St. Louis, we're in the west central part of the state near St. Louis. So yeah, there is a lot going on in this part of the state as far as environmental issues, but it's also a really special part of the state. It's at the confluence of the three big rivers, the Mississippi, the Missouri, and the Illinois. So it's really special ecologically, but it's kind of an environmental mess in a lot of ways too. There's, it was an area of a lot of industry. A lot of it is left. And of course, you know, a lot of those polluters left their mess to be cleaned up and for the, you know, taxpayers to pay for. But it's also a beautiful area. And so there's a lot of work for the staff of the Sierra Club, and we also collaborate with a lot of groups. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that collaboration, but I kind of wanted to reminisce a little bit about our last like in-person collaboration with IEC, and that was in March at the Illinois Clean Energy Lobby Day. And I miss those days, as I know everybody does. And So that was last, I think, the 4th of March. And the day after that, the Sierra Club, our office moved into our beautiful new building because we look at ourselves as conveners in this area of different groups. We work with a lot of groups like the United Congregations of the Metro East. We also work with the Metro East Green Alliance on a lot of the issues that we deal with here in the Metro East. And we thought, we've got this great new office. We can't wait to start, having meetings and planning actions. And well, darn, now we're reimagining all of that. And the work goes on. It's just not happening in our really cool new office. But anyway, like most of the organizations, we are reimagining how we do our work. We do environmental education and advocacy, and doing that in this new COVID era, and really in this new era of a double crisis with the anti-racism movement. And that is just becoming more profound every day. And that, of course, has to be part of our work too. And as I said, we collaborate a lot. And one thing we've done since the beginning of the COVID movement with our partners, United Congregations of the Metro East, is started our weekly COVID response calls. And we get mayors of area cities and towns, we get the superintendents of the schools, we get the Department of Health directors together on these Zoom calls. And we ask the questions that help our community stay safe, that, where can we get testing? How are our children going to return to school safely? And we find out what networks need to, get these answers out into the community. So this is something that the Sierra Club has been doing since the 4th week in March, and we've been doing it every week since, and I'll be doing it again tomorrow. So the Sierra Club has been facilitating, these meetings with United Congregations in the Metro East, and we've stood with United Congregations in, East St. Louis when Veolia wanted to have an incinerator, new air permit that was just going to be, spewing all these toxins into a community that was already experiencing so much, disproportionate pollution. So that's what we do. We, we join with other groups like the Metro East Green Alliance. We just had a Facebook Live event last week about the demolition of the Wood River Dynegy plant. We know what happened in Little Village on the day before Easter when they blew the stacks in Little Village. We're not going to let that happen in our community, or we're going to do our damnedest that that doesn't happen. So that's the kind of work we're doing here on the ground. I know my time's up, but anyway, my name is Virginia Wolf-Biley. I work with Christine Favila here in the Alton area for the Piasa Palisades group of the Sierra Club, and I'll drop my information in the chat. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Oh, there goes my timer. Okay, so our next speaker from the 47th Ward Green Council is Michael Sewell.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to bring up my screen really quickly. I've got just a few quick slides that I want to go through, but thank you so much to the Illinois Environmental Council and all the wonderful organizations joining us. My name is Michael Sewell. I'm the Constituent Services Director with Alderman Matt Martin in the 47th Ward of Chicago. And if you're not familiar with that, it's on the north side, including parts of Lincoln Square, North Center, Lakeview, Uptown, Andersonville, Ravenswood. And I'll try and keep it as brief as possible because I know we have a lot of great groups here and a lot of folks involved with activism and advocacy. But I wanted to highlight one way that as a government office in the ward that we're trying to bring that kind of work into our office and get the ear of residents, but also have residents have the alderman's ear. So part of my job is for the alderman is researching environmental policy, staying up on recent events as it relates to that. And I wish I had all the time in the world to focus just on that, but there are certainly many facets to my role in the office. But one area that we can really get assistance with that kind of work is through this 47th Ward Green Council, which organizes and engages residents on these issues. So why do we want to do this? Essentially, for starters, Alderman Martin sits on the city's Energy and Environmental Protection Committee. So it's important, of course, that we're not only up on the issues, but also working to lead on these discussions throughout the city and make sure that we're trying to push forward progressive policies as it relates to the environment. But even more importantly, I think this is a reflection of our residents' values in the ward, and certainly a recognition that there's a lot of folks with incredible talents and experience who are more knowledgeable even on these issues than we are. So we want to bring them into the process of government and policy making and find out what they want to see happen so we can try and move the ball forward on those. Residents have made it very clear to our office that they want action on these issues, and I know too often the city can be slow to act. So I think that's where residents can play a really big role. And I know there's a lot of community groups like this throughout the city, but I'd love to see something develop more at a ward level so we really start getting the ears of politicians throughout the city and on city council. So how does it work? We've got essentially an advisory committee. It's about 20 people. People tend to come and go, but it meets regularly to hear updates from our office about the meetings we've had, discussions that are going on at City Hall, and talk about initiatives and ideas, and get feedback from these residents who want to share what we should be doing. So these are residents of the ward, though we do have some people who live just outside the ward but are still active here, and they tend to be folks who are really knowledgeable about these issues. So we've got people who used to work with the city's Department of Environment. We've got folks involved with the Natural Resources Defense Council, Sierra Club, and then also locally based neighborhood groups like Riverbank Neighbors. So I think one thing that advisory group does is talk about policy, and I think that's where they have really the most power. We've had a few residents research the city's sustainable development ordinance and write an official letter to our office requesting that as we review development and zoning proposals, we are urging as much green infrastructure, things like permeable pavement, solar capability, EV charging stations ready to go in those new proposals. And that was a resident-led initiative. We've had a group of residents who formed their own group called Organizing for Plastics Alternatives, largely residents in the ward who have pushed on us to co-sponsor legislation that would work to eliminate single-use plastics. More recently, we've got folks talking about the Urban Forestry Advisory Board, which is, has been an initiative of open lands for a while now, but is hopefully gaining some traction. And I think especially after the big storm a couple of weeks ago, we were told we lost more trees than any other ward in the city. And I think residents, a lot of people involved with the Green Council starting to talk about what can we do just locally, whether even if it's not city policy, to better maintain and expand our tree canopy. And then also one meeting that we hosted featuring Extinction Rebellion Chicago as the speaker. We had some residents involved with their Green Council say, you know what, as a sort of informal group, the Green Council, we want to declare a climate emergency and call on City Council to do the same. And that's advice that the alderman took to heart, and in February sponsored a resolution officially declaring a climate emergency for the city of Chicago. So I think we had a lot of momentum there. And then of course the pandemic hit, and that's thrown off a lot, including some of the more wide-ranging public outreach we do. So I mentioned the advisory group that really looks at policy, but we also try to engage residents on a wide variety of environmental issues. So you can see photos from a couple of the events that we've done, hosting groups not only like Extinction Rebellion, but the Chicago Region Trees Initiative, Friends of the Chicago River, Chicago Recycling Coalition. And this is a way to get folks together in a room, hear about the great work that's happening around the city, how they can get involved, but then break out into smaller groups, think about what we can do locally in our ward, and of course, always keep an eye toward that policy, those bigger changes that can happen. And I do think that this is a way to recognize, again, the talent, the experience, and the will for action that exists among the residents that we represent. So it's a priority for us to continue those discussions and encourage those discussions. And we hope that residents around the city will come together and form councils like this if another community group doesn't already exist. So if you're interested in getting involved, if you happen to be in the 47th Ward, you can sign up at aldermanmartin.com/community-councils. Or if you just like to talk about the Green Council and you're interested maybe in forming one similar in your ward, if you're in the city or elsewhere, I'd be happy to talk to you. So my email is michael@aldermanmartin.com, and I'll also drop that in the link. And that is all I have. So again, thank you very much for having me today.
And thank you so much for speaking. Okay, and next up we have Sylvia from 350 Chicago.
Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Sylvia Panic, treasurer of 350 Chicago. And for us as a local climate change group, the movement for fossil fuel divestment is one of our key priorities. And divestment is essentially the concept of hitting them where it hurts the most, their pocketbooks, the pocketbooks of fossil fuel companies in oil and coal and gas. And so as a group, the name also 350 derives from what climate scientists say is the acceptable level of carbon in the atmosphere, 350 parts per million, which we actually surpassed years ago. We've passed 420 at least so far. So we need to bring it down and go back into building renewable energy and removing carbon from the atmosphere as much as possible. But as the local chapter, I'm trying to advance, there we go. We are completely a volunteer-based organization that hosts different activities and events from civic protests to educational events and meetings to attending city council meetings to try to talk to council members to get the city of Chicago to be a climate leader in all ways. And so what we, end up caring about is what everybody else cares about in light of the worsening environment. Extreme heat waves here in the Midwest, flooding, asthma, infectious diseases coming from the increased temperatures, and disruptions to the ecosystem of one of our largest natural assets, Lake Michigan. So where has divestment worked amongst all of the other pressures that we're seeing at the local, national, and global level from other stakeholders that do regulatory changes or pressures or legal challenges? Well, within the financial movement, what we've seen is that the energy sector, fossil fuel companies, which traditionally have been moneymakers over the past 3 to 4 years have had negative returns. Whereas if you look at renewables, the clean energy sector, they're seeing massive increases. And so that's very encouraging, and it's even more fodder for the argument that whether you're an individual or institution or a municipal government, you should consider divesting from the dirty energy fossil fuel sector. And so some other encouraging news, our movement, globally now there's nearly $15 trillion that has pledged and committed to divest from fossil fuels. So essentially on the markets, the capital markets, fossil fuel companies are hearing the death knell. And I've pictured here some examples of government institutions and regular for-profit financial institutions that have pledged to divest as well. And I'd like to highlight a case study that came out a couple of years ago where the third largest pension fund in New York did a back study and looked and realized that because they had stayed invested in fossil fuels, within a 10-year period, they had lost over $22 billion for their pensioners. And that was when they finally made the decision to develop a 5-year divestment plan. And as of the summer, they've already divested $90 million out of their pension plan system. So what we've been doing here at the local level is trying to talk to the treasurer's office, and our ask of them is to look at the Carbon Underground 200 list, which is the top 200 coal, oil, and gas companies in the world, to put that list within their guidelines and to say we're not going to invest in these ever, so that we can avoid foreseeable financial losses and protect Chicagoans by taking the necessary action to avoid further warming. So with this campaign that we've had, we have spoken to the treasurer's office, and what we've seen is that the previous administration, they had brought Chicago's operating budget to carbon neutrality, which is essentially they had about as much money in fossil fuels as they did in renewable energy, which was admirable in many ways, but it's also what I call sort of bailing water out of the boat at the same rate that it's coming in, when really what you need to do is plug the hole first and then start bailing the water out. And with this current administration that we've met, they are adhering to the Illinois Sustainable Investing Act of 2019 that was passed, which encourages municipal entities to that have investments to take a look at what they call ESG guidance, and to make their investment decisions also include ESG, which is environmental, social, and good corporate governance factors. But unfortunately, that doesn't really put any restrictions on fossil fuels. So any pension plan or municipal department can take a look at it and say, well, we took the environmental case into consideration, and we still think this is a good investment.
Sylvia, just flagging that is 5 minutes.
Oh, great. I'm almost done. And so we are now in a dual-pronged approach where we have put together a bill with City Council. We have a sponsor, Maria Hayden. So we're considering putting that forth in order for there to be a mandate that says that the Chicago Treasurer's Office has to divest from fossil fuels. But we've seen some encouragement in our discussions with them, where it looks like the Treasurer's Department is actually looking at voluntarily putting this language into their IPS, which is the Investment Policy Statement. So it's, we'll see how that goes and continue working with them and trying to get something like that to happen, where Chicago can be considered divested from fossil fuels. So I'll put our contact information in the chat, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so next we have Sunrise Wilmette, and we're going to be hearing from Polly Frazier and Louisa Struck.
Hello everyone, we'll be presenting for Sunrise Wilmette tonight. I'm Polly and I'm 15.
I'm Louisa and I'm 16. And together with a few other members, we founded Sunrise Wilmette. We're also both currently working in an internship for the New True Democrats during this campaign season to get Biden elected and fight for a Green New Deal.
We are the leaders of Sunrise Wilmette, and we live on the North Shore of Chicago. So first, a little bit about our hub. Sunrise Wilmette is a Sunrise Movement youth hub that was formed during the pandemic. We've been working to recruit members, but have also started a couple projects, such as making petitions and organizing park cleanups. Our goal is to make both a tangible local change through waste reduction and ending plastic pollution, and to make a more broad difference by phone banking and advocating for the Green New Deal. So now a bit about our community level issues. More than 33 million tons of food is wasted each year. When food is discarded in landfills, it produces methane, which potently contributes to climate change. On top of that, the average American produces about 250 pounds of food packaging waste per year, meaning that our school student body produces around 1 million pounds of food packaging waste per year, a lot of which comes from New Trier High School cafeteria. Our school has a large population that needs to be educated on this problem. There are also recycling cans all around the school, but people put non-recyclables in them too, causing all the recyclables to go to a regular trash dump instead of being recycled. To make these numbers smaller, Sunrise Wilmette has come up with a few solutions. We're petitioning New Trier to stop providing single-use plastic in the cafeteria and reached around 550 signatures so far. Louisa will be putting the link in the chat to change.org petition that we have made, and we would love it if you could sign it. We also want to put up posters to educate the youth of our community on how to properly recycle and compost. We want to share the posters on social media and make a video to show advisories about recycling and reducing waste. Here are some examples of our posters made by one of our members, Claire Labuda.
Another big problem in our area is everyone's personal carbon footprint. So the average American has a carbon footprint of 16 tons, which is one of the highest rates in the world. And Sunrise Wilmette is located in one of the richest areas in the country, which is the North Shore of Chicago. So most families here are not financially burdened in any way by wasting energy. So they carelessly take advantage of their utilities without having to suffer from any direct consequences. So what we need to do is we need to spread awareness on how daily life choices, such as staying in the shower for too long or leaving the light on when you leave the room, can largely impact the environment, even if it doesn't affect you personally. So we are educating people on how to make eco-friendly choices and create good habits.
According to Google's Project Sunroof, 70% of roofs in Wilmette are viable to use solar panels, but only about 49 buildings use solar energy. So if all of these houses that are viable for using solar panels are switched to solar energy, 68,700 tons of carbon dioxide would be avoided, which is equivalent to growing 1.8 million trees for 10 years. Switching to solar energy would provide a good alternative to all the energy used in the North Shore. We also want to create a website tracking the amount of energy used by each household in Wilmette and by our school to show the broader scale impact that it would have on the environment.
One more problem is pollution in Lake Michigan. In 2018, millions of pounds of plastic were found in Lake Michigan, and it's the most polluted Great Lakes. So we're trying to reduce littering at the beaches, and we are, on the next slide, our club's trying to help stop single-use plastic straws and plastics, and we're convincing people to use metal, paper, and other options, especially for grocery bags, water bottles, to reduce waste that individual people make. So on the next slide, overall, our hub, we're trying to give an opportunity for activists, young activists like us, to get involved and make a change, and also spread awareness to people who aren't as familiar with the climate crisis. And I'll put the rest of our information in the chat. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys for presenting. That was great. Okay, next up we have Andrew Van Gorp with Sustain DuPage.
Hello everyone. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for letting us speak tonight. This is amazing. I'm so humbled to be amongst such great organizers who are doing such amazing work. As Paloma said, my name is Andrew Van Gorp. I am the president and founder of Sustain DuPage. We've been around since 2013, and we just got our 501c3 in 2016. And the model that we have established, oh, I'm getting a message that my internet, all right, I'm gonna keep talking. Hopefully y'all can hear me. The model that we have established is empowering local organizers. We're really passionate about the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, which kind of lays out a lot of information on liberation philosophy. If you haven't read it yet, game changer, totally changed my life. Definitely love that book, highly recommend it. If you're working on just like focusing on like how to decolonize our minds and like eliminate that oppressor that we've internalized. So basically what Sustain DuPage does is we open source our 501c3 status to young, specifically mostly young, but also people of every intersectionality in the community, to remove barriers for them if they're passionate about some kind of sustainability within DuPage County. Our vision is for a sustainable DuPage County. And when people are interested, they volunteer with us, and then they can apply to set up their own project and basically create their own nonprofit under the umbrella of our nonprofit. And we empower them with a website, so they don't have to figure out how to set that up like I had to figure out, and like graphic design and like how to set up a Facebook group and all this stuff. We provide all of that kind of training for them. So whatever that they are passionate about, they're able to engage with. So far, we have 9 organizers and 16 active projects. Each of those projects could probably be their own nonprofit in and of themselves. So we have a blog, we do community cooking from our communal garden, where we have a semi-professional chef train people how to cook food from cuisines all around the world. We have an artist group, we have a policy reform group, we have a group who are monitoring the ecological restoration network history. We have our communal garden. We have a food atlas that we've developed. We have, for the first time ever this year, a market. We are actually selling some of our produce. Local artists in the community can come and practice their medium, whether it's poetry or, you know, improv or dialogues. They can come and have a safe space to practice rather than perform. We got a seed cache, which is we are training people how to save seeds, and we are creating a decentralized seed vault. Basically, we do traditional skills, and we also have a book club. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing, and I will post my information as well if you are interested in following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Meetup, all those awesome groups.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have a whole bunch of awesome young people from Sunrise Southside who are going to be presenting. So looks like they're already going.
Hi, so my name is Jeremiah. I am the hub coordinator for Sunrise Southside. So we're basically a hub, you know, a split of Sunrise Movement. And today we're just going to talk about who we are, you know, and our future plans in regards to environmental change. So our mission is a little bit different from Sunrise's main mission. So we want to build a multiracial hub on the south side of Chicago. One of the things that we were really passionate about is organizing people of color and people in neighborhoods that are going to be greatly affected by climate change and different environmental issues. You know, because though we appreciate a lot of the work that Sunrise has done, we feel that sometimes they do neglect those communities and those people in those communities. And our goal is to bring a Green New Deal to people of color and communities of color. So these are our current members. And yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to Brian.
Hey everyone, how are y'all? Brian Young Jr. So a little bit about our goals right now. Obviously, it's just like Jeremiah said, increase the number of Black and brown youth in the environmental movement. And although this is a movement that is very much trying to build multiracial hub and open up to everyone, we understand that, like, for the most part, in terms of environmental activism, like environmental issues, the Black, brown communities, criminal.
Brian, you're kind of breaking up a little. You might want to try turning off your video.
Oh. Is that good?
That's perfect.
Okay, yeah. Just like Black and Brown communities are somewhat overlooked, and so we do believe in spreading out, but specifically targeting Black and Brown youth and bringing them into the environmental movement. This hub right here, we want to organize with collective power, because as the history of any movement teaches, power is built from the ground up. Through people coming together and fighting for each other. And we think we can very much embody that in our mission. And also we want to create a hub that, fights for a Green New Deal and that, fights for that power. And three, we want to build a stronger connection with the South Side of Chicago. That's pretty much what this hub is kind of focused on, is just getting into the community and being a help of the community and being able to bring people into the movement for environmental justice.
Hi guys, my name is Alexia Henderson. I am one of the action leads for Southside Sunrise. Some of our upcoming events is our open meeting. It's going to be our first call for anyone who wants to get involved with the Southside Sunrise. Next, we have virtual history lessons. We kind of want to talk about climate change in the context of the South Side and how that's affecting people. So I'm inviting everybody to that also. We're going to do some other fun stuff like food drives and an alderman letter party where we would be sending out letters to our aldermen about the Green New Deal and how we think we could bring that into our communities and stuff like that. So yeah, really would be great if everybody could if anyone could come to those. Please reach out to our email if you guys are interested or anything. I'll have Jeremiah drop that in the chat.
Hi everyone, my name is Lamarion. So for the recruitment, due to the unique time we're living in, we're going to do training virtually in our presentation. Next, we're going to do canvassing. And also, although due to COVID, a lot of things have to be virtually, we're planning to still do some actions in person with everyone else in a safety way.
And also, to be clear, right now we are very much a work in progress, in terms of building the hub and, just forming a sort of a stable structure to bring people in and keep people into the environmental movement. And also, I didn't know if I said it before, but I will be the training instructor for Sunrise Southside.
Thank you guys. That was great. You guys are gonna do some awesome work, even though you're just starting out. Okay. So next up we have Cassie Metz with Sustainable Springfield. Cassie on here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, there you are.
Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Kathy. I'm the president of the board of directors of a nonprofit called Sustainable Springfield Incorporated. Thanks for everyone for sharing about your organization. It's all very exciting stuff. I figured I would do this by going over the history of SSI and how we're organized, and then close it out discussing some observations about our status. So Sustainable Springfield is a local organization at the Capitol pushing for sustainable solutions for our community. It was founded in 2006 to bring sustainable building and renewable energy ideas into the Springfield area. We've seen expanded to a broader set of initiatives that includes the Sustainable Leadership Awards and our Green Leadership Certification Program. These programs publicly acknowledge those individuals and organizations that have demonstrated excellent leadership and or successfully achieved SSI's gold, silver, or bronze status for our Green Business Program. And then beginning in 2019, SSI board member and City of Springfield Works and Recycling Programs coordinator, Adina Rivas, created a coalition of organizations that are willing to work together to make her vision of an upcycling marketplace a reality. So the spring of this year, the coalition was awarded a grant to start up the Creative Reuse Marketplace. As of tonight, we do have a Facebook page for that. It's the Creative Reuse Marketplace if anyone wants to look it up. So they were awarded funds that will be used to create the Creative Reuse Marketplace, where upcycled and non-recyclable post-consumer materials such as plastics, school and office supplies, arts and crafts and materials, toys, etc., will be donated, sorted, displayed, sold, and or redistributed locally. The purpose of the CRM is to establish a location where people can donate acceptable items versus throwing them away, and also create a space for education, job training for low-income, unemployed, and/or homeless men, or homeless women and children. In the long term, this program seeks to provide steady employment to the underserved, inspire and build a creative space for learning, and decrease the city's waste stream. So, Sustainable Springfield's Climate Action Mobilization Team has written a letter to our mayor asking him to join the climate mayors in order to uphold the Paris Climate Agreement, and we're asking him to do that within the next 6 months, so we hope to hear from him soon. And in addition, we're also putting together a climate action plan as that team. So next we do have urban tree canopy / pollinator / food forest protection initiative in partnership with the City of Springfield's property on Clear Lake Avenue. Since 2018, we have started to restore depleted urban areas in Springfield with large oaks, red buds, red maples, cherry trees, pollinator habitat, and berry plantings. Another board member of ours has created a partnership with a nonprofit called EcoFluent, and they've planted about 40 trees around Springfield this summer. SSI has also promoted solar by keeping our community informed on clean energy solutions, critical utility policies, and solar incentives. In summary, Sustainable Springfield, sorry, my dog just barked and really distracted me. Our board is organized into 5 main subcommittees, and that's vegetation, energy, climate, waste, and awards. So my hope was to use this conference call to find some partners to help us create a climate action plan template for each sector of our society, be it personal, business, and governmental. So in 2007, Governor Blagojevich asked for a report from the Illinois Climate Change Advisory Council, and the report to the governor provided goals and recommendations up to the year 2020. And it was the closest thing to a climate action plan as we had, but as far as I know, there's nothing new in the works. So the idea here is that anyone could go into this plan template thing, which would probably be best as an app or a website, and find out what would be the best moves for them to help initiate climate action. I understand this would be a huge project, and I know that there are similar things out there already, but this would be intended to generate plans for people based on whatever information we can get. So I'll just wrap it up. Sustainable Springfield believes that we can adapt and overcome climate change as a community by reducing carbon, methane, and particulate matter pollution with renewable energy policy, tree canopy, vegetation, and pollinator projects, and completely transforming the agricultural industry. We believe we need to create zero waste infrastructure, commuter biking infrastructure. We need to create urban food forest pockets, and we need to line the highways with pollinator plantings and tree canopy. Thanks for all listening to me ramble, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Thank you so much, Cassie. That was great. Okay, and now last but not least, we have from Sunrise DeKalb, Joe Rafke.
Great, thanks. Can you hear me? Super. Give me 1 second. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Joe. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Sunrise DeKalb. We're a relatively new organization outside or in DeKalb, Illinois, which is about 60 miles west of Chicago, if anyone knows it. And we're relatively new, but we're excited to get started, and we have a lot of plans in the work. So a few other people have already presented from Sunrise, which is super cool. So I'll be brief about the Sunrise movement itself. Sunrise is a national organization dedicated to building a political movement of young people to fight climate change and you know, the threat of ecological collapse that has become so incredibly serious. And the central driving effort of the Sunrise movement is to fight for a Green New Deal, which is a plan to fight climate change by creating a fundamentally transformative set of policies to transform the economy and the way we produce energy from the ground up. And one of the most exciting parts of Sunrise for me is really the connection between environmental politics and environmental causes, and the recognition that in order to fight for those causes, we also need to confront, you know, corporate power, colonialism, and racial and economic injustices. Hold on, let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Sunrise DeKalb was just started this past summer, at the beginning of the summer. Our goal is to organize young people in the local community for a few different reasons. First, of course, to contribute to the cause of the national Sunrise Movement, fighting for a Green New Deal and environmental justice, but also we're really focused on engaging people to build local power. One of the things that we were really so inspired by this summer was, the anti-policing movement and the fight of Black Lives Matter, which really brought political organizing to DeKalb in a way it hasn't been in a long time. And our goal is to, build onto that infrastructure in as many ways as we can. So this is sort of filling in the infrastructure of local organizing power as much as we can. And we're trying to engage students from Northern Illinois University, which is in DeKalb, as well as students from the local public schools and whatever other young people are in the area, because there's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm here and around the country among young people who want to fight so that, we have a future in the long term. And I think it's really important for us to build onto that infrastructure as much as possible. We're pretty new, so we haven't done anything too concrete yet. Right now, we're really working on recruiting people as effectively as possible, which has been made difficult by the pandemic crisis, but has been really effective on social media and things. So that's been a real boon. But we do have a lot of ambitious plans that we're hoping to get working on through direct action and organizing work as soon as possible. One thing is, of course, we're trying to bring people into the struggle for a Green New Deal and for political change nationally, electorally, et cetera. So helping people connect young people to local campaigns and national campaigns for politicians. But also, we want to focus on local issues that approach environmentalism not just as an issue of, ecology and this really grand necessary struggle against climate change, but also, perceiving environmentalism as a struggle to have control over community space and ensure that community space is protected because people are part of the environment too. So one thing that we're working on is connecting with the local tenants association in DeKalb to ensure that there's that people have access to better housing conditions, which is a real problem in the city. There's problems with lead and radon and poor water conditions. So we want to make sure that the local government and local landlords are held accountable for those problems. And then, of course, another thing is that we have a local sustainability plan put together by the local government. But the problem with that is recently has been that while there are a lot of ambitious goals to make the local community more sustainable, it's been difficult to hold the government accountable, the local government accountable for that, because, well, the commission that's proposing that is really an advisory board. So we want to, organize people through to engage in direct action to make sure that we can actually put pressure on the local government to get that plan, which has been in the process for a very long time, actually on the road to going somewhere and making tangible material difference. And I'm guessing that's close to the end of my time. So I'll just say you can follow us at Sunrise DeKalb on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I'll post a link where you can find all of that in the comments. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was great. It's awesome seeing all these new Sunrise groups. Yeah. So now we're going to move into the public comment period, and we're going to do this in two parts. So we're going to kind of do this on an honor system. So if you belong to an organization that received an invitation a couple weeks back from me, and you want to make a public comment, then put your name in the chat with your organization now, and I'll make a stack and we can go through and get some comments going.
Hey, Paloma, could you clarify the ask again? Is it for general comments based on the presentations or broadly?
Either or. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we don't have too many of those, so we can just go ahead and open up generally for public comments now. So anybody who wants to make a comment, put your name in the chat and we'll get started. And if you don't want to talk over Zoom, you can also put any comments or questions or anything in the chat and we can go through with those there.
Can I ask a question? I forget, is there a raise hand feature on here? I lost it.
There is. It's in
shoot.
participants. Yep.
Just pretend I'm like, emoji raised hand. How are the...
Andrew, we actually have two more. Sorry, we have two more people before you right now.
Oh my goodness, sorry. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so we can actually, let's start with Kyra. No, you're fine.
Sorry, I didn't know if we were going to do stack or the raise hand feature. So sorry if I started.
No, you beat them either way.
Okay. Well, it's awesome to see some familiar faces and so many new faces as well. Thank you again to IEC for convening a call like this. It's always really heartening to hear some new voices, and particularly those from our, just the new faces all together. I think one thing that was really encouraging and gives me hope, it's definitely the various teams from Sunrise. I think even just the count that we have on this call definitely shows us that this is a moving conversation. And I also appreciate what the Southside Hub is doing in really saying, hey, yeah, we are a national entity, but it's important that we prioritize and give particular focus to bringing voices of color and youth of color into this organizing space. And so I guess I should also say that I work with Sierra Club with the Illinois chapter, and in Chicago, I'm our coordinator for the Ready for 100 campaign. Though it is a national Sierra Club campaign, here in Chicago, we are also seeking to prioritize and truly center this conversation of a clean energy transition around racial equity and understanding what that means and what that looks like, with certain themes around jobs and career opportunities, health, as well as other economic opportunities and career pathway development, and the actual implementation of renewables as well. So I appreciated those who were able to express the desire or the work towards a more diverse space or inclusive space. I also wonder how we're challenging ourselves as a community to really operationalize that commitment. I think we are in a year that encourages us all to make grand statements and gestures, and really figuring out how we're going to push, the systems, whether it's at the local, state, or federal level, to operate differently, or even organizations of our own. So Sierra Club is definitely not new to that conversation, and we're trying to figure that out. But I wonder how, as a body formally associated with IEC, or for those who are new to this space, how can we really move the needle and do so in the same distributed way, but call the tough questions?
These are definitely a lot of very important points. Okay. Renee was the next one to get in here, so.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Patton. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Edgewater Environmental Sustainability Project in Chicago on the far north side. So I feel moved by how much power there is in this room. Andrew specifically, like, love your energy. Like, you're amazing. I want to talk to you more. But it's just so encouraging, you know, with all of the injustice and all of the demonstrations and the pandemic, to be in a group of people who are like-minded and share similar values and are volunteers or getting paid for this work. My organization is all a volunteer organization, and it's so encouraging to see how many all other volunteer organizations are up there from people that spoke, and how much power we can have as a larger coalition organized through IEC. So I'm just excited that this group of people have come together, that we have this other space to gather in and have these conversations about, to prepare for the climate issues that we're going to deal with, to have stronger communities, to have healthy and safe communities, and just glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, now Andrew, it is your turn.
Woohoo! I am just really excited to hear. I'm really passionate about like events becoming springboards to like future actions. So just like how IEC is envisioning, even just like maybe you want some time to like digest this conversation, this call, and like maybe debrief with your team. But is there anything off the top of your head of like how you envision this moving forward? I know in your outreach that you had mentioned like potentially doing future calls. I'm really excited to participate in something like that.
Yeah, just to answer that, it's Jen. I think that, you know, I know there are a lot of collaborations all over the state. You know, Green Illinois is bringing so many groups together, and Sunrise Movement has their own chapters and such. So I do envision this being a little more narrow and focused towards like what we should be prioritizing in terms of policy and advocacy. But we do kind of want to make this a more formal thing where we are getting maybe quarterly meetings, so we're not taking up too much time connecting people, but also just making sure that all the work that we're doing at the state level is as grounded as possible, that you're both telling us what to do and we're telling you what to do when we need you in Springfield. So we're starting this early. This is usually the time of year where we start our process to put together our Springfield priorities. And so we're doing this. And then I hope we'll meet in a few months when we're going to bring all of the notes from this and the public town halls we did this summer to our member affiliates that are in different issue groups. And we're going to see, like, what do you think of this? And then we're going to come back to all of you and just be like, we'll present some of the priorities, hear from you again about what you're doing at the local level, and just make sure that, you know, all of our legislative priorities, our city council priorities, are really grounded in the volunteer work and community organizing work that everybody's doing. So just a better way to connect. And I think we'll actually work on a process where community groups have a vote and a voice over our agenda for the year. We've never done that before, but our board, I think it's really important. Our board thinks it's really important to you know, really bring our work together. And this doesn't include, we also will be working with specific EJ and frontline groups that will be having more specific meetings. This is for any group doing local community work, whether it's EJ or not. So just explaining where we want to go. I'm very excited about it. This is amazing. So thank you.
Just seconding how excited Jen is about this. Okay, and next in the stack, we have Brad Roos.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brad Roos. I'm the president of yet another organization with Sustain in its name, Sustain Rockford. So it's kind of fun to hear about the other. Yeah. I have a bunch of quickie things here. First of all, it would be helpful to me if, Jen, if you and your colleagues and maybe all of us could put together a kind of a list of who the players are, you know, in Illinois. And what the affiliations are. I know that's sort of a weird and complicated thing, but if we don't know, I'm not sure how the policymakers can know. So that's just one thought. We are working with 7 Generations Ahead out of Oak Park. to have a Greentown conference in Rockford about a year from now. And I'm wondering if any of the rest of you have worked with 7 Generations Ahead.
They are an IEC member, so they are working with us.
Okay, and and Greentown conferences?
I mean, we're aware, but they're not, you know, they're
Okay.
through 7 Generations.
Okay, and then there's one coming up, you know, for Cook County Climate Action that is facilitated by 7 Generations Ahead. That's in September 23rd and 30th. And so that may be of interest to some people. And we were a grassroots educator last year for the Illinois Solar for All program in Northern Illinois. And so we became much more aware of what's going on with all of the various policies. And I see that now the ABP program, the Adjustable Block Program, which is the kind of for everybody solar program, is not got any more funds allocated to it for anything more larger than a 10 kilowatt solar systems, which is very unfortunate. And I'm wondering if anybody knows what the future of that looks like, or who knows.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pass CEJA to get that. You know, I think there'll eventually be more funding after time, but we got to pass CEJA to fix that issue.
Okay. And is it public knowledge that Doug Scott is working to get Illinois on behalf of the governor to carbon neutral by 2050?
I think so. I mean, it's out there enough that, but Doug Scott used to be the mayor of Rockford for
That's
folks
right.
that know, and he was the IEPA director, and he was ICC, and he is now employed by the governor's office through his organization, Great Plains Institute.
Yeah.
And he is the contractor that's working with the governor's office and the working groups.
Okay.
Put together policy. So I'm pretty sure you could just say that publicly, but it's not like he is a target that you can send things by. He's a worker, but he is part of the working group process.
Yeah, should be a good ally, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And Beth wanted to say something.
Yeah, so we would love to get IEC's help to get the word out about the Illinois Community Solar Program that does exist. The state, there doesn't seem to be a program to educate people about it. If you stopped 1,000 people on the street, not a single one would know that they could subscribe to a community solar program. So would really love all of your groups to think about whether that's anything that you'd like to promote. It's a way for people to support renewable energy with no money down. They save, the planet gets helped. So I just think we need a little bit of help from bigger groups to get the word out about that opportunity.
Thank you. And Kim Stone is next.
Thanks. So Jen mentioned city councils, and I know when you talk about city council, you're usually referring to Chicago. As Beth said, there are 289 suburbs in the Chicagoland region, so don't forget about the rest of us. And, you know, I know we've worked together a little bit with Highland Park City Council on environmental issues, but there are other city councils in the suburbs that would be happy to work on environmental issues, but just don't necessarily have the staff to know exactly what they should be doing.
Definitely also a good point. Okay. Looks like that right now is all the folks who have asked to make a comment. So if anybody else would like to make a comment at this point, please go ahead and put that in the chat now or raise your hand and I will call on you.
And as we're waiting for folks, Plum, I just do want to add to what Kim said that I think eventually our board hopes to have a point where we have some more resources to help with advocacy of local organizations in municipalities, just because it does everything our our city work feeds into our state work, feeds into the federal work that we do as a partner league and conservation voter. So it's all super important. But right now, City of Chicago and State of Springfield are where we're doing the most of our advocacy. So and thank you, Delia, for that comment. I don't know if you want to read it, Paloma.
Yeah, no, those are all definitely very good points. And also I see that Jennifer Alongi has added her name. So if you would like to unmute now.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, I'm Jennifer Alongi. I am the chair of the Sangamon Valley Group of the Sierra Club. And these are not my comments. One of my ex-com members, you guys at IEC probably know him, Scott Allen. He works for the Citizens Utility Board. He wanted me to put forth a couple of things that he feels is pretty important to keep on the radar at IEC. The first is to advocate for universal utility regulation. And he said in the recent past, IEC intended to produce a solar bill of rights, and IMEA was naturally opposed to this, but COVID kind of derailed the legislation session where that was being discussed. So he just wants to make sure that the advocacy for that universal utility regulation stays on your guys' radar, because I am an IMEA customer, so I'm kind of stuck in the IMEA world, and it's hard for me to take advantage of renewable energy, and because we need a universal net metering and grid interconnection policies that go statewide. The other thing he wanted me to bring up was the Prairie State Energy Campus, and that we should probably start pushing for that plant to close as much as we can. Even they are in debt, and people like me that gets their power through IMEA is paying for that debt, and we're kind of stuck there again. So I think the Prairie State Energy Campus kind of rolls in with the universal. So he just wanted me to throw that out there to make sure you guys keep that on your radar. So thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, just to read some comments from the chat here. Delia said that our immediate concern is the studies with COVID-19 and particulate matter and COVID-19 and wastewater facilities. Brown and Black folks are dying, though there is no real focus on the environment. Okay, so definitely getting at a little bit of the intersectionality here with like race and the current pandemic and environmentalism. Okay. And I guess I'll just do, okay, Louisa, would you like to talk now?
Hi, I just saw the comment about the upcoming election. So I think, and our hub thinks that that's very important because as much change as we can make locally, we cannot get any further without action from our leaders. So Polly and I, the leaders of our hub, we have a connection with the Nutri Democratic Organization, and our hub is also planning partnerships with them to host phone banks and other events this until November, so we can really push for some change on the more bigger scale, so our smaller change can thrive.
That's great. Okay. And now I guess I'll do a last call for any more comments. And also I will put my email in the chat here. So if anybody has anything they don't want to say over Zoom, they can send those to me.
Paloma, Cynthia, can I just,
yeah, for sure.
One thing that, we're really trying to do intentionally and thoughtfully in McHenry County, because we do have diversity. We have probably a higher percentage of Latino residents than we realize because of the situation in our country and immigration and fear and you know, we're trying to figure out how to connect with our Latino community so that, you know, they know that they're safe coming out for restoration days and connecting and working together. But I would love to have a continuing conversation, maybe with people here who are interested, let me know, on diversity in the environmental and conservation world, Black, brown, white, how we can all connect so that we have a conversation that helps bridge the you know, the segregation that exists in our society still, and doing that in a way on an issue that is so close to every human, and that's environmental health is something I'd really like to explore. I'm happy to host Zoom meetings to, you know, delve into that, and some of it's just, you know, it's going to be an education to, you know, really talk to each other. I live in a very different area than Southside Chicago, but I'm only 50 miles away. So connecting on this issue and how much disparity there is, and just having, you know, a conversation about that and how we work together and continue to maybe somehow dissolve some of these lines. How do we do that together when I'm out here in McHenry County and there's Chicago and everybody's doing their thing in their area, but how do we make that even bigger and louder, I guess? So if anybody's interested in I'm happy to host a Zoom to just talk, and I'll put my email in here again if I can see, because I'm outside and it's very dark. defendersdirector@gmail.com. Thank you. Just send me an email.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I just noticed that Kathy White has plugged an event that her organization is doing. So pretty much everyone just feel free to do the same, to follow suit. If you guys have anything you want to plug, like, go wild. And also, like, feel free to, like, definitely use this as an opportunity to, like, network and put in any contact information or anything you'd like.
Still haven't figured out the hand feature.
Okay.
But me, please. Is there a stack?
There is not right now.
Okay. So if you know anyone who's in the west suburbs of Chicagolands, please send them our way. We have a communal garden where we do free training on how to grow food, medicine, fiber, and dye. We have that on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. and Saturday mornings at 8:30 to noon. So anyone's welcome, free to the public, just trying to teach people how to grow plants.
Awesome. That sounds very fun.
Is there
we are.
Oop.
Oh, you can go.
Sorry, is there a way we could, if anyone's on like social media across platforms, like have a central list of people's handles to like follow everyone? I've been trying to like Facebook stalk y'all while we've been talking, so you might have gotten an alert from me. I joke with my friends, I'm a little bit of a Facebook slut, so feel free to reject any friend requests. But I would love to connect with y'all, so if you're interested in that, I guess I could set up like a Google Doc. I don't know how.
I do think that's like a pretty good ask. Like, it kind of goes back to what Brad was talking about, like with a list of the players and stuff. Like, I know we do have a list that we worked pretty hard on to get like the organizations that we invited to this town hall, but it's certainly not nearly everyone who's doing something here. So yeah, definitely like doing that in a kind of collaborative way could be a kind of cool little project.
Is there a central Google Doc that IEC like has created for this town hall experiment?
We do have one of those. I will have to, Jen, what do you think about making that like something that we could collaborate with these folks on?
Yeah, we'll figure that out because I think we just need to make sure that people are okay, because there are some groups that are on that list that didn't come tonight, and I want to make sure that they're okay with their info being shared. But yeah, and I mean, like, I do hope we can, this is just like sort of a soft launch this year of like free without any signups, and then like, you know, I still think there'll be free entry into some of this, but you know, we may have like a form you fill out to be a formal member in the future, but we're working on changing that on our next board meeting in December. So yay. But yeah, yes, that's a good idea. We'll do it, but we got to ask permission first.
Yep, that sounds right. Okay. All right, so now I will do one last final call for any more public comments.
We'll put this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/islandbiro, so you can check it out. And we'll publicize the results with our social media and stuff. So thank you. And thanks everybody for coming and spending your time with us tonight. Really appreciated it. I think this was super valuable, and I'm looking forward to connecting more. So thanks, and bye everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, IEC.